Hello, let's discuss brain meninges and dural venous sinuses. First, we will talk about the meninges, meningeal layers of the brain. So, meningeal layer of the brain, it has three layers. The outermost layer after the skull, this is the skull bone. Okay, this is a calvaria or the skull bone. Inside the calvaria, there is the first layer of the meninges, which is called dura mater. This is dura mater. Dura mater. This is dura mater. Okay, and this one is also dura mater. So dura mater has two layers. Okay, so this is also after the skull bone. This is also the dura mater. The dura mater is divided into two layers. The outer layer, which is just posterior inside the bone, skull bone, is the periosteal or end-osteal layer of the dura, and inside it is the meningeal layer of the dura. Okay, so the dura has divided into two layers. Okay, which is fused together. The outer layer is periosteal or end-osteal layer of the dura, and the inner one is meningeal layer of the dura. It is fused together, but in some point the periosteal layer and this meningeal layer get separated to form the sinus, which is called dural venous sinuses. We will talk about the dural sinuses later in video, but this is the separation point of the meningeal layer and the periosteal layer. Okay, so this is sinuses, dural venous sinuses, and this specific sinus is superior sagittal sinus. Now in some point the two meningeal layer fuses together to form the dural folds. So this is dural folds. We will talk about it in a later in this video. Okay, so we will talk about the dural folds. So this is one of the dural fold, which is called falx cerebri. Okay, so this is about the dura mater, and dura mater has meningeal vessels, meningeal artery and meningeal veins. Okay, the second layer is the after the dura mater. This one is arachnoid matter. Okay, so the second layer is arachnoid matter, and the third layer is pia mater. Okay, so after the dura, this is dura, the two layers of dura. After the dura, this is arachnoid, okay, arachnoid layer, and after the arachnoid layer, this is pia mater. Okay, so it has three layers. Meninges has three layers. Okay, dura mater, which is divided into two sub layers, periosteal layer of the dura and meningeal layer of dura, arachnoid, and the third one is pia mater. Okay, in between these layers there are three spaces outside the dura, and inside the brain. So in between the skull bone, so I will show you. So in between the skull bone and the dura mater. Okay, so let's suppose this is dura mater. So in between the skull bone and dura, there is this space which is called extradural space. Extradural space in between the dura mater and arachnoid mater. So this is arachnoid. Let's suppose in between the dura and arachnoid there is space which is called subdural space. okay, and in between the arachnoid and the pyometer, this is subarachnoid space. And these spaces are important because when there is trauma, um, it may, as these spaces contain the meningeal vessel, meningeal veins, and or the subarachnoid space has the cerebral vessels, okay, the brain vessels. So when it bleeds, the blood collect in these spaces, which is called hematoma. Okay, so if there is collection of blood which is due to rupture of the meningeal artery in the extradural space, so this will be called extradural hemorrhage or extradural hematoma. If there is collection of blood in the subdural space, then it is called subdural hematoma, and it is most likely due to the rupture of veins. Okay, and when there is collection of blood in the subarachnoid space, so this is called subarachnoid hemorrhage. Okay, and it is due to rupture of the cerebral arteries and its branches. Okay, so one thing about the extradural hematomas, that it is due to arterial rupture. Okay, so that's why it is fast in onset, while the subdural, as it is due to most likely due to venous rupture, so it is slow in onset. Okay, and the most dangerous is subarachnoid because it is due to rupture of the brain vessels like cerebral arteries, so it is most dangerous and severe one. Okay, so you must know about this. Okay, so outside the dura mater there is extradural space. In between the dura and arachnoid is subdural space, and in between the arachnoid and pyometer, this is subarachnoid space. Okay, so this is the subarachnoid space. In between the pia and the arachnoid mater, in between the dura and arachnoid there is subdural space. Okay, and in between the skull bone and the dura there is epidural or extradural space. Okay, so you must remember this. Now we will go towards the first, before going to the dural folds, I will discuss the arterial supply of the this dura mater. Okay, so the dura mater is supplied by mainly three types of vessel. The first one is this one. These are the interior meningeal arteries. Okay, interior meningeal artery comes from the branches from the interior and posterior ethmoidal artery, and these ethmoidal arteries comes from the ophthalmic artery, and ophthalmic artery comes from the internal carotid artery. The other branches is this one, middle meningeal artery and accessory meningeal artery. Okay, middle meningeal artery and accessory meningeal artery, and this comes from the maxillary artery. So this is maxillary artery. You can see this one is maxillary artery, one of the terminal branch of the external carotid artery. Okay, so it gives two branches to the meninges of the middle cranial fossa. Okay, so it is middle meningeal artery and accessory meningeal artery, while to the posterior to the arterial supply to the posterior meninges of the posterior cranial fossa, it is derived from the occipital artery. It also derived from the vertebral artery. Okay, so the branches from the vertebral artery is the posterior and interior meningeal branches, while from the occipital artery there is mastoid branch, while from the ascending pharyngeal artery there is meningeal branches of the ascending pharyngeal artery. Okay, so this is about the arterial supply. Now we will go to the dural folds. So there are three dural folds. Okay, so one is this fold which is sickle shape. Okay, this dural fold is sickle shape. It has apex and the base and the upper border and lower border. So its apex is this one, and this is the base, and this dural fold is called falx cerebri. Okay, so this is falx cerebri. It is sickle shape and it divides the two cerebral hemisphere. It's divide the two cerebral hemisphere. Now the second fold, which is very small fold, and it is in between the two cerebellum, and it divide the cerebellum. Okay, this is cerebrum and this is cerebellum. So this is called falx cerebri. This fold is falx cerebri and it is triangular in shape. Now the third triangle, which is called the tentorium cerebelli. Okay, tentorium cerebelli. So this one is tentorium cerebelli. This dural fold, which is a thin sheet in between the cerebrum and cerebellum. Okay, so the tentorium cerebelli divide the cerebrum and cerebellum. So these are the three main subtypes of the dural folds. Now what is the function of the dural folds? So it protects the brain. Then the second function is it prevents displacement of the brain during the trauma, or when we are shaking our head, and it minimizes the effect of vibration. So it got three functions. First, it protects the brain, it prevents displacement of the brain, and the third one is it minimizes the effect of vibrations. Okay, so this is about the dural folds. Now we will discuss about the sinuses. So there are some of the sinuses are single sinuses, and some of the sinuses are six paired sinuses. So single sinuses are six sinuses, and paired are also six paired sinuses. Okay, so first we will discuss about the single sinuses. So the first sinus, which is single, this one, which runs at the upper border of the falx cerebri. Okay, so this is falx cerebri, and at the upper border of the falx cerebri there is superior sagittal sinus. Okay, so this one, okay, this one is superior sagittal sinus. The other single sinus, the second one, is this one, which runs at the lower border of the falx cerebri. This is inferior sagittal sinus. Okay, the third one is this one, which is straight sinus, and it is located at the base of the falx cerebri. Okay, so this is the third one. The fourth one is this one, which runs in the falx cerebelli. You can see this is falx cerebelli, and this sinus is called occipital sinus. Okay, so this is the fourth one, sorry. The fifth one is intercavernous sinus. So these one are intercavernous sinuses, and these are two in number: posterior intercavernous and interior intercavernous sinuses. Okay, and the sixth one is this basilar venous plexus or basilar sinus. Okay, so basilar venous plexus is the sixth one. Now we will look at these. So this is superior sagittal sinus. Okay, this is superior sagittal sinus. You can see it. This is superior sagittal sinus. Now this one is straight sinus. Okay, one of the single sinuses. This is intercavernous sinuses or cavernous sinus. So sorry, not cavernous, intercavernous sinuses. Interior intercavernous sinus, posterior intercavernous sinus, and this is basilar venous plexus. Okay, so these are the single sinuses. So single sinuses are 6 in number. While now we will discuss about the paired sinuses, which is also 6 in number. This one is spinoparietal sinus. Okay, you can see this is spinoparietal sinus. Okay, the second one is cavernous sinus. This one is cavernous sinus. It is present on both sides, so that's why it is paired sinus. Okay, this one is spinoparietal sinus. Okay, this one and this one at the lesser wing of the sphenoid. Okay, and this is cavernous sinus. Okay, now this one is superior petrosal sinus. It is present on each side. This sinus is inferior petrosal sinus. Now this sinus is the transverse sinus on each side, and this one sigmoid sinus on each side. Okay, so the 6 paired sinuses are the spinoparietal sinus, cavernous sinus, superior petrosal sinus. This one is this one is inferior petrosal sinus on each side. Okay, this is transverse sinus. Okay, and the sixth one is sigmoid sinus. Okay, so now we will discuss about the site of the each cavernous sinus and its termination. Okay, so you know the first is we discuss about this one, this superior sagittal sinus. Okay, so superior sagittal sinus is located at the upper border of the falx cerebri. It started from here, cribriform plate or the foramen cecum, and it runs posteriorly and superiorly, and then it terminates to form it goes to the right side to continue as the transverse sinus. Okay, so this is transverse sinus. Okay, so the right transverse sinus is continuation of the superior sagittal sinus. So superior sagittal sinus continue as right transverse sinus. Okay, now the inferior sagittal sinus, which is present at the inferior or lower border of the falx cerebri, and it joins with this vein, which is called great cerebral vein of Galen. Okay, so it unites with the great cerebral vein to form this sinus, which is called straight sinus, and it is single sinus. Okay, it is single sinus, it is unpaired sinus. So this straight sinus then goes to the left side and it forms the left transverse sinus. Okay, so the right transverse sinus is continuation of the superior sagittal sinus, while the left transverse sinus is the continuation of the straight sinus. Okay, and straight sinus formed by the union of the inferior sagittal sinus. This is inferior and this is great cerebral vein. Okay, so this is transverse sinus. This is left transverse sinus, which is the continuation of the straight sinus. This is straight sinus and it continues as the left transverse sinus, while the right transverse sinus is the continuation of this sinus, which is superior sagittal sinus. Okay, then this sinus, transverse sinus, continue as the sigmoid sinus. Okay, sigmoid sinus. and this sigmoid sinus goes to the jugular foramen to continue as internal jugular vein. Okay, this is the superior sagittal sinus, which drains the cavernous sinus, and then it drains into the this transverse sinus. Inferior sagittal sinus drains into internal jugular vein. Okay, these internal intercavernous sinus is present in the sella turcica region, and it drains into the interior and posterior intercavernous sinus drains into this cavernous sinus. Okay, so the cavernous sinus is the most clinically important sinus. Then first we will discuss now we will discuss about this cavernous sinus, which is paired sinus, and it is present on both sides. Okay, so first we will discuss about its tributaries. So cavernous sinus, uh, interiorly it has tributaries, two tributaries: ophthalmic vein. Okay, so this is ophthalmic vein. This one which comes from the eye, this is the central vein of the retina, and the third one is sphenoparietal sinus. Okay, sphenoparietal sinus. So interiorly it has three tributaries, which is interiorly it has three tributaries. One is superior ophthalmic vein, okay, and inferior ophthalmic vein also, and this is central retinal vein. Okay, and this one is sphenoparietal sinus on either side. Okay, sphenoparietal sinus. So it has three tributaries from the interior, while medially the two intercavernous sinus drain into it: interior intercavernous sinus and posterior intercavernous sinus. Okay, this is the basilar venous plexus, which connects two inferior petrosal sinuses. Okay, superiorly it from superior side it has two tributaries: middle and inferior cerebral veins. Okay, while inferiorly it has imagery vein, which connect the cavernous sinus to the pterygoid plexus and pharyngeal plexus. Okay, now this cavernous sinus drain into the superior petrosal sinus, which drain into the transverse sinus, while it also drain into the inferior petrosal sinus, which drain into the internal jugular vein. Okay, so this is about the tributaries of the cavernous sinuses. Now we will discuss about the contents of the cavernous sinus. Okay, or the relation of the cavernous sinus. So inferiorly you can see these are the sphenoidal sinus. Okay, so inferiorly it is related to the sphenoidal sinus. Superiorly it is related to the optic chiasm. This is optic chiasm and internal carotid artery laterally. Okay, so superiorly it is related to internal carotid artery, which is lateral relation, latero superiorly, while medial superiorly or superior medially it is related to the optic chiasm. Okay, laterally it has this part of the brain, which is temporal bone. Okay, laterally, and medially it is related to this gland, which is called pituitary gland. Okay, pituitary gland. Now the structure which travels in the cavernous sinus is these structures. Okay, so the structures in the lateral wall and structures in the medial wall. So the four structures in the lateral wall is oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic nerve, and maxillary nerve. The mandibular nerve is present outside the cavernous sinus, while at the medial wall it has or inside the cavernous sinus. It has two structures. This one is internal carotid artery, cavernous part of the internal carotid artery. This one, which is present superiorly, this internal carotid artery, it is the communicating part of the internal carotid artery, but the cavernous part of the internal carotid artery present at the medial wall or inside the cavernous sinus. Okay, and this nerve which is present with the internal carotid artery, this is abduction nerve. Okay, so the four nerve or four structures in the lateral wall is oculomotor nerve, trochlear nerve, ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve. Inside the cavernous there is abduction nerve and the artery which is internal cavernous part of the internal carotid artery. Okay, so this is about the cavernous sinus. Now why it is clinically important? Because if there is inflammation or the thrombosis of the cavernous sinus, then it can spread to the orbit through the ophthalmic veins to cause, and it cause the swelling of the orbit. It can also lead to spread to the eyeball through the central retinal vein, and it can lead to blurring and blindness, blurring of vision and even the blindness. Okay, so this is the clinical importance. Or if there is any infection or inflammation in the eyeball region or the nasal region, then it can spread to cavernous sinus to cause the cavernous sinus thrombosis. Okay, so this is about the meninges, dural fold, and dural venous sinuses. Thank you.